Today's video, we're going to talk about why paying your PPC guy or agency on commission is a good deal if you know how to structure such a deal and how you can make a pile of money doing it. Here's how to structure that deal and to where it works out for both parties, because you're not going to come out of this where it's totally one-sided and have it come out okay. Either the person that you're having doing the work to get you your PPC success is going to give up on it right away or barely try. Person paying is going to give up because it's not serving his needs or her needs. I've started this agency guarantee PPC 10 years ago, and we've done a number of pay for performance deals. Namely, what we're doing is we're promising our clients to get to a certain minimum result up front, and then they start paying us on a monthly basis after that, like any other marketing agency they would work with. However, we've also done several deals where the client literally pays us a percentage of sales and or paying us per lead generated, mainly percentage of sales, because leads are subjective. Some are good quality, some are not, and those are not the best deals. The best deals, as I'm going to talk about in today's video, is actually where you get paid a percentage of your revenue, and ideally it's gross revenue. Why? Because PPC affects your overall revenue through the repeat business that you get, the organic traffic increase you get as a result of scaling up an ad campaign and so forth, and because conversion tracking doesn't work perfectly. But if you structure this deal with the right person that really knows what they're doing, you'll make way more money because that person is going to be so completely motivated. I'll tell you, at our PPC agency world, nobody in our world wants short-term clients because they're not profitable. Somebody that pretends they want to work with you long-term just to get all the value they can out of you for 3 months and then quit. Everybody's trying to avoid these relationships, including me. However, when you say to somebody, if our company grows to 10 million a year, and I'll give you 500,000 a year, I don't care if you do nothing, just for helping us get there, they're going to be the most motivated because they know you're a long-term client. Everybody wants to work on a project that they know if they put in their effort, they're going to get the rewards. However, people have been burned so many times putting all the work in. The client says that they'll be with you for life and they'll kiss and lick your feet if you help them make XYZ number of dollars, and then you do it and then they forget all about what they said and then they fire you to hire a cheap guy to maintain it. People are just trying basically just hard enough to not get fired that run PPC agencies or consultants. And so you're telling them that you'll lock them in for the profit for life from what they're doing and ultimately making their company grow. Will give them the confidence, really put in their all, even though you may say, well, look, they should do that anyway. Well, the reality is they aren't. They're going to put in what they think they need to. You're not going to get 110% because they know the relationship short term. And ultimately, if you lose money, essentially making it work up front, you're not going to get that back in the long run anyway because the client's not going to last. So I'm going to talk about how to structure this deal. So if you are the company that wants to hire a PPC consultant, how you could do this and make way more money because you're going to get the best person working the hardest. And if you're a PPC company or consultant and you want to switch to this model where you could make way more money, I'm going to explain how you do it as well and not get ripped off, burned, or whatever. So before we get into this content though, if you do not know who I am completely yet, I am Corey Ziman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in guaranteeing results for their clients. That is, we don't charge our clients management fees until we get them a certain minimum lift in their profitability up front, basically in excess of what our management fee is. So, and then with that, you should already know just from what I said, how, the quality of the information you're receiving on today's video. We've been around the block as well, and I've been doing ads and related ad management for 20 years now. So with that said, getting into the content here. Lots of business owners love to pay their agency only when they get a sale. I see this every week on Reddit. I watch PPC Reddit on there, and then every week, seems like one or two people will come on there and say, hey, I'm willing to pay for every lead generated. Who's interested? Raise your hands. And it's always met with a lot of skepticism because people that are PPC consultants usually have fell for this before, where you get a person a bunch of leads and they'll say, oh, those leads aren't good quality. I ain't gonna pay you. And then they end up ripping you off. A lot of times it is a scam. You do all the work. They can easily say that. That's an easy out for them. And they just keep all your work for free and you make nothing. You actually lose money because it costs you money outside of your time just to put things together because you have to hire designers, coding people, all these different experts just to get the overall result on the ads. Or at least if you're doing it right, that is. People come in there and they'll say, hey, don't do this, you guys, you're going to get ripped off, because most of the people who want that they can't afford a marketing agency or a PPC agency, and they're just doing that so that they can still get professional help. And the problem with that is because even if you get them results, they probably don't have any business experience, so they run the company like running it into the ground. You don't get paid anyway. PPC alone isn't the whole thing that gets a business to work. A lot of people say, ultimately, if your PPC works so well, why don't you have clients for life? Well, the reality is a lot of companies, they don't have good management, or they're just greedy and they quit once it's working already, one or the other. But somebody who normally wants to pay on commission, as what I've found, is people that can't afford an agency / they're small, they don't have any business experience, and they're not going to run the rest of their company right to make the PPC portion and complement it, so to say. The business owner wants the deal to be very one-sided if they do want to pay on performance. They say they want to pay on performance, but they want most of the benefit for themselves, even though they can be really, really good deals for the PPC consultant. You'll make more money working on commission as a PPC consultant than you will ever on a monthly basis. You just have to know how to not get scammed and structure the deal right, which is what I'm going to talk about here today, and know the steps in it, because I've screwed it up every which way, and I've came up with all these things out of survival to make it work and actually have it pay enough, even though sometimes the deals fall apart still, to make money at the end of the day, after everything is said and done with, on the whole, or on the average between all the deals that I've done, have done, or will do moving forward, which I'm still doing them. We have several e-commerce companies that we've done partnerships with. We just have to get the sales. We get a percentage of the sales, and we're making a lot of money on that, in addition to myself running the ad agency at Guaranteed PPC. When I say that they want things one-sided, here's specifically what I mean by this, okay? So countless people have came to my agency, pretend like they want to hire myself to do the strategy and our team to help execute everything, which is our structure here. And they say, I'd rather pay you on results. I say, okay, great. I make more money that way, and it's true. Okay, so, how long of a deal is this? Because I already know when somebody says that, in their mind, which they shouldn't be doing this by default. I don't know why people do this, but they're thinking, oh, I could fire you at any time. Well, if you could fire me at any time, how the fuck is this a partnership? A partnership is usually where you're paying on performance, which is a partnership. You have a business partner, they're working for free, and they only make money if the company makes money. But at least the end reward is, if the company makes a lot of money, they can get paid a lot. The situation that the companies want to pay on performance most of the time, that I've seen, they want to so-called pay you on performance, but they also want the option to yank the rug out from underneath your feet at any freaking second, which is a scam in itself, because I can tell you from firsthand experience, I don't care how much they beg and plead that they're never going to do this, and they're not that type of guy. And by the way, the more they say that, the more they are. Like, it's a big red flag when someone says, I would never do that. If you actually build up their sales, once the sales are built up to a certain degree, they're going to say, oh, I don't want to pay him anymore. $4,000 a month for him to do that. Oh, there's people out there that do PPC for $500 a month. I ain't paying them that. And then you don't get paid anymore. So it'll work for a while what they're paying you is cheap and or not outside of what they would pay another company. But because they got it for free initially, your value to them is free or almost free. And if you start getting paid the big bucks, they're not going to want to pay you. This is basic human psychology. People, a good analogy of this is to say, like, YouTube ads. People bitch and complain about YouTube ads, but they don't want to pay for a YouTube premium subscription where the ads to go away. And why do they expect it to be free even though they get all the value out of YouTube? Well, because it was free originally, so it should always be free. And if so, therefore, if you want to get value out of something, you can't charge for free for it at the beginning. Outside of like SaaS companies, where the reason why those work is because they offer a free trial, is because you're already invested into the process and you don't want to have wasted all your time setting that software up and then suddenly, you don't get your money back out of it. Generally speaking, though, if you offer something for free, they're always going to want it for free, and you can't charge more later because they're not going to value it, so to say. You're going to build up their sales, then they're not going to pay you, and ultimately there's no point, so to say. And they're going to say they're not going to do it. At the end of the day, human nature says, they are going to fit, I'm doing all the work. You're not doing jack shit, or what it seems like jack shit. I ain't paying you, or I shouldn't have to pay you. And they'll justify it in their mind. Hey, you're not doing very much work, so I shouldn't have to pay you. And if you're a true smooth operator, it's going to look easy. Therefore, they're also going to not want to pay you, because why should I have to pay you $4,000 a month for something that looks easy to do? You're just clicking buttons on a keyboard. I'm not paying you. And then you don't get paid ultimately. So, which is dumb, right? Because you help them make all this money, and they're bickering over paying you a little bit of the money when they couldn't get anybody else to take that deal, and that they didn't have to pay you anything in the beginning, so they never got that money back. Now later, it's time to get paid and they don't want to pay you. Why do they do that? I don't know. It's human nature ultimately, and that's what they do. So if you are going to work on commission, you have to be able to lock in your payment long-term to make it worth it and actually lock them in. If you go to the guy who's suggesting that they want to pay you on commission and you say, okay, buddy, how long is this deal going to work for? I want at least a 5-year term to where over the next 5 years, you're going to pay me. Oh, I don't want to do that. They want to be able to get you to work for free, and then at any time of their wish, of their choosing, they could just suddenly fire you in case it doesn't work out. Ultimately, if you're set up that way, once you start making a lot and they know they can fire you, they're gonna fire you. It's just gonna happen. For the record, I'll take any profit revenue sharing deal if you've got a legit company that's not a startup where you don't even proven your concept of what you sell yet. But if you're doing a few $100,000 a year already, or a few million, and you want us to do PPC and then pay us a percentage of your revenue growth, we'll take those deals because we make more money. Just know we're not gonna take it. You're gonna decide 3 months from now, if you like the cut of that you don't like the cut of my jib, then you're going to fire me. I'm not doing it then. You either have to pay me forever for the work I'm putting in today for free, otherwise I'm not doing it. And that's the way you guys that are consultants that are on the other side of this equation need to be thinking here as well, because it's not going to work any other way. Which, by the way, if you are just starting out and it's hard to get clients, the easiest way, in my opinion, to get started and get some experience is to work on commission. You just have to work on commission the right way. And yes, the big companies who already have lots of sales aren't going to want to do it with someone that's unproven, but you can find a company that's pre-revenue and tell them that you want 5% of their sales growth and you do the PPC for free. And even if they don't pay you, you got the experience already. So it's actually a win-win in that situation, or in that case. So anyway, with that said, how do you actually structure a commission-only PPC deal with somebody who you pay you're getting to do your PPC ads for you and you pay them, and for the other side to feel like it's a fair deal and actually have it work out long-term for both parties most of the time? Commission only is more like a marriage than an arrangement. So like I said before, 99% of the people that tell me they want a partnership or a situation where they pay on commission, they don't want to be locked down to anything. They want to quit at any time for any reason whatsoever. And that's just a recipe of them it's not a matter of when they fire you, or if they fire you, but when. This is a marriage. If you want to work on commission, the upside is the long-term potential of the company. That's it. So if you want to pay somebody nothing up front, you have to give them the upside of the company. If you don't want to do that, you pay them up front. You can't sit here in the middle and straddle both sides and say, oh, I want all the ability to pay nothing up front unless it works. But then if it works, I want the ability to fire them at the same time. That's just being greedy ultimately at the end of the day. I mean, sorry, that may piss some people off. That's the reality. That's the situation. People don't work for free unless there's an upside long term. Now, in order to prevent, so here's how it actually will work, where somebody can work for free and get the upside long term and have it work out, and the company that's getting by with not paying the PPC guy anything up front in order to get to the big result at the end of the day where they're making millions of dollars, here's how you structure it. First of all, this sounds great at first as a person that's going to be hiring the other company, the agency or the PPC consultant to do the PPC, because you could do this with an agency or a consultant. This sounds fantastic at first. It's going to be really bad later on. Think ahead of yourself. If your company really succeeds, are you really going to want to pay this PPC agency $15,000 a month for the deal you cut today to not have to pay $2,000 a month in terms of PPC fees? Because that's the type of situation you're up against. You really have to put yourself in those shoes 5 years from now and ask yourself, are you going to want to be locked into that? And locked in you will, because nobody who actually knows what they're doing is going to be dumb enough to take your deal and expect you to pay the 15 grand a month on a handshake later on down the road. They have to be locked into it, or you're not getting paid, or at least if they have half a brain, or for the most part have never been scammed on this kind of deal before. Second of all, because it's so bad for the company long term to not pay anything up front, to get out of paying something up front, which, by the way, people want to pay nothing up front and do the partnership because they want to say, I don't know if you PPC guy even know what you're doing, and I don't want to have to pay if it doesn't work, because I've hired somebody before and it didn't work out, so I ain't going to pay you unless it works. That's the main reason why they want to do it. But then when it works, they're pissed that they have to pay so much to the guy that made it work. So it's like, no matter what, they're not going to be happy. Because they're not going to be happy if it does work, they've got to be locked in legally to pay, or they ain't freaking paying. So you got to have a partnership set up if you're going to do this. You don't want to be a partner with who you want to pay on commission to do your stuff, to do your PPC work itself. And because you don't trust who you're dealing with, then you pay them a monthly fee and you fire them if they're not doing what they're supposed to do after 6 months. You do it the normal way. You don't expect them to work for free and then let them work for a few months and then cut them out of any of your commission they would have got. So with that said, moving forward here, there should be an earn-in at the beginning. So with all this said, as much as I've shit on regular business owners here, I see it from the business owner side. Why should I give you a percentage of the upside of my company just for doing the PPC itself? And that's fair. I understand this. What you do to make it fair is you say, okay, on the commission, we're getting 1% of the gross revenue growth in our company moving forward. And you're going to get that in perpetuity for helping me get the ads working and help scale the company. In exchange, we're not paying you anything up front, and we're only paying you, and if our company makes more money, we're happy to pay it to you because we're making more money too. Because you're getting 1% of the revenue, what you're effectively getting is 1% of the company, and our company right now is worth $1 million. So 1% of our company, if we were to sell it today to you or anybody on the street, would be worth 10 grand. 10 grand is 1% of $1 million. So your commissions that we were going to pay you on this deal that we're structuring here, you need to be paying that 10K to get your 1% slice of the company up front, and that is going to come straight out of your commissions. If I'm going to give you 1% of the sales growth in the company for managing the ads, the first 10 grand that you make from growing the sales, so basically the first $1 million that you make us in terms of growing our top line revenue, which would then net a $10,000 commission to you, we're going to take that first $10,000, therefore not pay you anything up front to justify it and to basically pay for your 1% of the company that you're asking for up front. So they're working for their equity position. Or you could do it with a cash buy-in. So I've also done it where we've done that, but instead of working for the first year to get our commissions enough to pay for the percentage of the company, I give them 35 grand and now I own 4%. It could be done that way as well. But so that remedies the one-sidedness of actually locking the PPC company in with the company, because they actually had to buy into the part of the company, and someone who's bought into the company damn well should be getting the long-term benefits of it because they're a damn part owner now. They're actually an owner. Okay? Then commissions should be 1 to 4% of your gross sales. Increase. Yes, I said gross sales. And people, they really have a major problem with this. They say, well, it's just PPC. Why should I have to give you a percentage of my sales growth? Overall sales growth. I work hard to make sales by speaking and, running these billboard ads. And why should I have to give you 1% of all that? The reality is, PPC, if it's done right, is going to be the main driver of business for you. Running ads on Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, all these places online, doing the remarketing correctly, building landing pages, consulting on the site to make sure the site converts well, which somebody who really knows what they're doing that you acquire will also. Managing the tracking, scoring leads, all this stuff that needs to be done. The PPC should be able to make half of the sales of your company. Ultimately, that's about the average of what happens. So it's not that much different than just So with that, that's number one. Number two, the tracking inside your ad account is not going to track all the sales. Anybody that's in PPC knows that the tracking that your ad account says that you get and the actual sales it pulls in is completely two different things. Some browsers that people use don't accept cookies. That will make sure a lot of sales don't get tracked that the ads create. You got people that come from your ads that are lifelong customers. That brings in revenue that was a result of the ads that the ad tracking itself is not going to pick up. If you scale your ads and you get and start spending 5 figures a month on Google ads, your organic traffic goes crazy because you're building up a lot of authority in Google's eyes, domain authority. You also got customers that came from PPC that referred other customers. That causes revenue that you don't see in the PPC tracking. So for you to say, oh, I'll only pay if it says you got $3,000 a month in sales, I'll pay 1% of that and that's your cut. No. Half of the value of the PPC is just in the ancillary things that the sales that come in from these other sources and methods that I just mentioned. So you should get a percentage of the overall sales. But the main overall reason why it's a percentage of sales is because it's easier. If the tracking breaks, you don't have to worry about what you should get paid or that you shouldn't get paid. Ultimately, it aligns with the goals of the company as well, because I talk about all the time about marketing efficiency ratio on this channel. If you really want to scale your ads the best way possible, you come up with a ratio of total sales at your company, and I mean total sales to ad spend. You find a ratio you're happy with, whether it's 1 to 10, 1 to 20, whatever, and then you go to your PPC guy and you say, I want you to raise my sales as fast as you freaking can. As long as the ratio of sales to ad spend is maintained, you can spend an unlimited amount of money. Your goal is to get the sales to go up. So your commission should be paid on overall sales, not what shows in the ad account. So that's the main overall reason why you would want to do it this way. You get paid a percentage of the sales and it's clean. What was our sales this month? Okay. But with that said, I do say it should be the increase. So if you're making $1 million a year right now and you hired your PPC guy to be paid on commission, the 1% of the million, you don't get that. You get only the 1% of all the sales above $1 million a year that you're getting moving forward. It's only on the increase itself. And that actually just makes sure that everything that was there before, that PPC guy didn't create that. Anything that happens later in terms of the sales growth. So you'll have to assume that the sales increase comes from the PPC guy, which is why you want to check out your PPC guy before you offer this deal. Check all the references, check their online profile, check everything you possibly can. Because if you do get locked into this, it's already too late. The time to make sure you hired the right person that you offered this deal to is before you sign up for it. And if you're really particularly not trusting of people, then you do a monthly fee like everybody else. This takes some balls to do at the end of the day. I'm telling you it's much, much better. If you hire a PPC agency and you're the only one who pays them a percentage of revenue and that company's starting to make money, they're going to pay attention to your shit beyond anybody else's, more than anybody else's. They're going to answer your phone calls before anybody else's. There's major, major benefits to doing this. So you could look at it as, oh, I don't want to pay 1%. It's too much money. Or you could say, I'm going to make 10 times as much money with this guy who's going to try all the way versus some agency who's just, that's the way that you have to actually realize and think about this if you're going to do it and make sense of it. And it will actually happen. Trust me, you want somebody doing your marketing whether you make money or not. Otherwise, you're going to do the minimum. I'm not saying that we do that here per se, but generally speaking, companies are going to do what is good for the company, not for your business. Just like Google isn't going to be there to help you make more money. They're to help them make more money, get you to raise your ad spend, therefore you can't listen to them directly. That's not how the compensation structure is set up. Agencies are set up to make money for the agency, not for you. Oh, and by the way, 1 to 4% is about the cut that it should be. Really hot product, really hot company right now. 1% of the increase in sales growth is enough for the agency already. If you're a small company, let's say you only have $50,000 a year in sales, because they're starting out at a much lower position, therefore there's more work to do and it's riskier for the PPC guy, it should be more like 4% of the growth, okay? Beyond that, if you pay them more than that, you're going to be resentful of paying them that because as you scale, your cost structure is going to go up, not just from the paying the PPC guy, but Your overhead's going to go up. You're going to need more staff. You're going to need a warehouse. You didn't need a warehouse before, but you need it now. Paying 10% to the PPC guy is going to really eat into your profit margins and stall your growth. The ideal situation is you pay the PPC guy a lot, so they try really, really hard, but it's still not a big enough percentage of the overall gross that it's going to affect your ability to grow the rest of your company. And the next thing to consider here is the agency should be the admin on the account. Now, this is going to really weird people out here. Companies, trust me, the day comes that it's here that you are owed your $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month checks for what you did. You knocked it out of the park with your ads. Companies are not going to want to pay you. They're not. The only way they're going to pay you is if they feel like they have to. Otherwise, they're not going to pay you. They can, but they're only going to do it if they have to or feel like they have to. The only true way for them to think that they really have to pay you is going to be if you own their ad account. And when I say own it, you may say, well, it's too late. They already own their ad account. I'm just helping them manage it. No. You, as a part of this deal, have them make you the admin on the account, and they're a standard user, so they can't kick you out of the account. Now, the way that you sell this is, I'm the agency. I can't do jack shit with this account without you. Therefore, I have no reason to lock you out of the account. You have reason to lock me out because you can replace me once the ads are up and going, they're working already. So I need this insurance to know that you're serious about paying us long term. And if they won't do it, big red flag, don't do the deal. There's no reason why they can't make you the admin on the account if they intend to pay you long term. Because what would be a situation where they would need to lock you out of the account? They're telling you, I want you to be my PPC guy to the end on this thing. So if that's the case, why would they ever have to lock you out of the account? That is the one thing that proves how serious the person you're dealing with. And I will admit, this will generally only work with companies that are only doing a little bit of revenue so far, 100,000 a year, something like that, where they will hand over the keys to their ad account. That's just the reality. If they are just starting out and they don't really have much success and they're not willing to make you the admin on the account, I can almost guarantee you, once you scale up that company's ads and sales, and they've got guys coming at them every day. Oh, your ads are screwed up. You need to run them much better this way. Oh, I can help you. It's only $400 a month. In their ear. It'll eventually eat into their head enough. They eventually will regret paying you and eventually stop paying you. If you have the ad account and they know you're going to just stop the ads, if you stop getting paid or have the option to, they're going to keep paying you. And it's for the company's own good. They get so damn short term like that. I don't have to pay $10,000 a month. I could pay this guy over here $500 a month and he'll maintain it. I could spend the $9,500 on a Ferrari payment. It's dumb. Dumb, short-sighted thinking. Because the ads are going to work like they were now with the cheap guy. They're going to unravel the strategy. I know. I see people fire our agency all the time. Sometimes they forget removing us. I see what the other agency does. The other agency comes in, 98% of the time, they delete our campaigns and they start their own campaigns up. They completely unravel the strategy overall because each agency has their own way of doing things. You're going to be too proud to go back to the original guy who built it up for you. They never do come back to our agency and admit that happened. And you're just going to be back to zero again. What was the whole point of going through all that if that was going to be the end result? And that is going to be the end result. So if you're locked in, they're not going to make that mistake, and they're going to continue making more and more money. Ultimately, it's almost like being an alcoholic. The only time that a person can stop drinking if they're an alcoholic is if they're thrown in jail. Why? Because that's their only option. The only option that they have is to stick with that person that made them all the money, despite maybe I could get it done cheaper or better somewhere else, is that they are not going to screw up their stuff. That was the best thing for them anyway. So locking them into making you the admin sounds like an a-hole move. It's the best for the company in the long run anyway. Before I go into the last couple here, ultimately with all this said, this isn't a business advice channel, even though I do go over business concepts here. You should subscribe to this channel because it has all the strategies we use to guarantee results for our clients and that we use with the companies we partner with. And it's best information you're going to find on YouTube and online about how to do ad strategy. That'll make you millions of dollars a year running ads for your business. So if you haven't subscribed already, you should. The information is coming straight from the source, from a guy who spends 40 hours a week doing ad strategy at our firm, which is very unique compared to all the other YouTubers that talk about ad strategy that don't run any ads, and they just have fancy editing and that's it. I also have a great blog on my site too, by the way, at guaranteedppc.com/blog. You could find all my other strategies I talk about there with the screenshots, with the step-by-step instructions to use them that we use to guarantee our clients' results. You should definitely check that out as well. If you have any questions about any ad strategy at any time, or have any questions about doing a performance-only deal, PPC deal, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. With that said, getting back to the topic at hand here, PPC, performance-only deals, they get paid per lead, per sale, per whatever, which per lead, again, just to clarify on that again, you can't pay somebody per lead because the lead quality is too variable and it doesn't work. It has to be on revenue, and to make it a fair shake on the revenue, it needs to be on the overall revenue. Person doing the work has to have access to the overall sales, the accounting department. The only way that I found makes it work. But it is better for new companies to do this performance-only deal because you do have to hand the keys over the ad account to the person doing the work. Also because you have to buy into the company one way or another, like I mentioned, either through sweat equity or through actually paying money at the beginning to earn that 1 to 4%. And if you've got a $5 million a year company, PPC person doing the work probably doesn't have that money, because if they had all that money, they probably would just start their own company themselves. And so it's not ideal because of that reason as well. Just something also that I mentioned, every single deal that we've dealt with, every partnership deal that I've done where we're paid on revenue growth is on companies that are doing less than $1 million a year in sales, for what it's worth. The other thing to mention here, and just to reverberate what I was saying before, PPC only tracking isn't fair. You cannot pay somebody based upon the sales that the ad account shows, because in reality, it's going to show half or even a third of what the actual sales that the ads generate through the tracking that the ad account has, because it misses so many sales. Cookies get deleted, and the effect on the organic traffic, return traffic that comes back way later, way more than a month later, people coming back to buy, that it takes some time that long to buy. Repeat sales you're going to get, the initial PPC clients that you get, and then the return sales that you get from that. That's all not counted by the tracking inside your ad accounts. The referrals that you get from the PPC generated customers initially never gets counted in the PPC accounts tracking. You cannot, basically value what you're getting out of the PPC just by what the ad account says. Or I'm not simply going to take it. You're not going to pay me 4% of what the account says we're getting in terms of sales, because I know if it says 300 grand in sales, more than likely I've got at least 750,000 in sales, if not $1 million. And for that matter, I'm helping the company build up brand equity. I want a percentage of that company. I want a percentage of what the overall company does, since I'm helping that company be successful. I'm a partner. And for that matter, the final thing I'll say about this is to say another way the PPC agency or consultant that takes this deal can get screwed is you're so successful with it, the company sells. And if you don't have an ironclad agreement to get in place, and therefore you don't own the percentage of the company, the next guy comes in, could just fire you. And yeah, you may say, well, I have a contract saying the company is supposed to pay us X, Y, Z. It's going to cost so much to litigate that it's not worth it. But if you are getting 1 to 4% of that company, and that new company that buys you out, they will see your equity share when they buy you out. They'll know it up front, and they'll want to buy you out up front typically. They'll just buy you out right away. They won't pay you, and the money's enough. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars most likely in terms of what your share is worth. It's worth litigating. Lawsuits are not worth litigating until it's at least in the tens of thousands, 25,000 plus dollars. So, and probably 6 figures to really, really make it worth it to litigate things, if you want to be more accurate and serious about it, unless it's a slam dunk type of litigation that you can get done. That takes almost nothing to prove it. Your goal is to get the company so successful so it'll sell. It's not a matter of if it will sell, but when, because nobody goes into business forever. So if you're going to take this deal, you want to win regardless, whether it sells, whether it doesn't sell. If it doesn't sell, you keep getting your 4% forever. If it does sell, you get your payday in one lump sum. And you can litigate if it goes wrong, because there's major money involved now. So with that said, if ultimately this may sound scary for the company, for that matter it is. You have to really trust the person that you're working with to do this. It'll be a major win for you at the end of the day if you do it with the right person, but most people don't end up doing it because they're like, I don't really know if I trust this person. And then you just got to hire them on a monthly basis and see how they work. I had a lot of people tell me that they'll, after hiring us, say that they'll hire us on a percentage basis later, but they're never going to come back and pay you on a percentage basis later, because once they know they can do it for paying you on a monthly basis and still get results, they're never going to cut you in later, because why would they? So you pretty much have to cut someone in on a performance basis right away or not at all. And you have to know the person, unless you have a personal relationship with them already, or they're a celebrity in this PPC space like me. It's going to be hard to trust them to do that. And then you just have to go back to, damn it, I just need to pay, the PPC agency a straight up monthly fee because I don't want to be married to this person that I don't know. If you want to hire somebody on a performance basis, we do these deals. We don't take on obviously every deal, but you could talk to me at guaranteedppc.com about your deal. We could add it to our roster of deals that we do revenue sharing like this. Or if you want to hire us on a monthly basis, we do that too. Beyond that, we also do coaching. If you're ever interested in you want to know what it's going to take to make your ads work, how to unstuck your sales and revenue from ads to get to the next level with it, do a 30-minute coaching call with me. I can figure that out in a 30-minute coaching session after asking you what your numbers are, looking at your site, looking at your data, and tell you what else to do to get unstuck. I do this all the time with people that reach out from the channel, and I'm always able to come to a conclusion of what the next step is for them. And they come back for more coaching as a result. We also sell ad templates. If you want to get results, maybe you don't want to work with a PPC agency like I mentioned, or pay them on a monthly basis. What you can do if we've worked in your niche market already is buy the winning ads, landing pages, campaign templates that work for your market. If we've worked in your market before, copy paste those into your ad account and get the same results we did with none of the money, time, and effort that it took to figure out how to get to those results after all the split testing we did and so forth. So if you're interested in that, we also sell those templates. We got hundreds of those templates available because we've worked in 100 plus different niche markets in the last decade plus to running this firm. If you're interested in that, you can also reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. With that said, I'm going to wrap it up with that. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully that made a lot of sense, made you laugh, and I'll see you on the next one.
Remember when I said PPC deal was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.